From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, I'm Kylie Conway, and this is your News 8 Daily 8 for Thursday, June 1st. Mostly sunny today, and it's going to be hot. There could be a rogue or stray pop-up shower this afternoon, but the vast majority of us will stay dry. High temp of 89 degrees, mostly clear, with a low temperature of 65. And breaking news this morning, Indianapolis police say 2 people are stable after a shooting on the east side. Happened around 3:30 this morning on Downey Avenue near 34th and Emerson. Police say both victims drove themselves to the hospital. No word yet on their names or ages. Police also haven't shared any information about a possible suspect. The debt ceiling deal is headed to the U.S. Senate. The House voted 314 to 117 to pass the package last night. We've reported about it, talked about it here on the podcast. The bill would restrict spending for the next 2 years and suspend the debt ceiling into January of 2025. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says the legislation makes history.
This is the biggest cut and savings this Congress has ever voted for. And it's not that we're just voting for it. This is going to be law.
President Biden applauded the bill's passage on Twitter. He says, "I have been clear that the only path forward is a bipartisan compromise that can earn the support of both parties. This agreement meets that test." Biden also urges the Senate to pass it as soon as possible. An Associated Press report says the Senate is slated to act by the end of the week. As far as Indiana lawmakers on the vote, Republican Jim Banks is one of 4 House members to not vote. He did vote on other measures yesterday, including a measure condemning anti-Semitism. As far as Republican Victoria Spartz, the only Indiana lawmaker to vote against the debt bill. She says Congress abandoned the American people. In a statement, she said, "The so-called Fiscal Responsibility Act punts the issue till 2025 and not even a discussion of our path forward. Why would we even bother coming to D.C.? We can do demagoguery from home or perform in a traveling circus instead." Many senators are insisting on amendments to reshape the package. Changes at this stage seem unlikely before Monday's deadline. New reports say Mike Pence will launch his presidential campaign in less than a week. According to the AP and others, the former Indiana governor and vice president will kick off his run in Des Moines, Iowa next week, slated for Wednesday, his 64th birthday. Advisors promise a push in all 99 counties in Iowa ahead of that state's caucuses. Other Republican hopefuls are poised to launch their bids, too. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie is planning a Tuesday announcement. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum is poised to start his run next Wednesday, the same day as Pence. And a new report outlines possible new problems for the Republican frontrunner, former President Donald Trump. CNN says federal prosecutors have a recording of Trump admitting he kept a classified document from the Pentagon and knew there were limits on what he could declassify. Trump has claimed in the past that he could and did declassify documents he took with him from the White House. Special counsel Jack Smith is investigating Trump's handling of such information and his actions ahead of the January 6th Capitol attack. And today, Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis both have several events scheduled as they hit the campaign trail. Trump is slated to be in Iowa. It's a rescheduled visit. Last month, his campaign canceled an event because of severe weather. He is scheduled to host a series of events in Des Moines before participating in a televised town hall meeting tonight. DeSantis leaves Iowa and takes his campaign to New Hampshire. He's slated to make 4 stops in the state today. DeSantis spent the last 2 days on a campaign blitz, hitting 4 Iowa cities yesterday. The Florida governor gave similar speeches at each appearance.
We have to be rooted in facts, we have to be rooted in reality, and we have to be rooted in the enduring principles that have made this country great.
DeSantis did not mention Trump by name during any of yesterday's speeches. He did question the direction of the GOP. And today marks the start of National Gun Violence Awareness Month. And with it, Indianapolis is launching its I Choose Peace campaign. You can show your community that you're participating by using the hashtag #IChoosePeace on social media. The goal of the campaign is both education and to connect people with programs like IndyPal, Summer in the City, and the mentorship program for adults called Peacekeepers. The I Choose Peace campaign comes on the heels of the next phase of the mayor's gun violence reduction strategy. This includes an IMPD pay increase, $15 million for grassroots organizations, and hiring 3 attorneys to prosecute gun violence on the federal level. The campaign will run into October, which is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We've got much more information on wishtv.com. And a new report outlines the barriers people face as they try to rent a home in Indiana. The report is from the Fair Housing Center of Central Indiana. It points out that credit scores, criminal screenings, evictions, and eviction filings can keep people from securing housing. The report points out problems with the system. For example, eviction filings and actual evictions often hold the same weight. The report shows barriers are most likely to affect Black people, immigrants, people with disabilities, people with criminal records, and domestic violence survivors. Kagan Klein is headed toward sentencing again. According to new court filings, Klein has decided not to withdraw his guilty plea after all. Klein is the Miami County man facing 25 counts connected to child pornography in a case linked to the Delphi double murder investigation. Prosecutors say he used a fake social media identity to get sexually explicit pictures and video from girls. Klein pleaded guilty in March, then, on the day of his sentencing in May, indicated he may want to withdraw the plea. That led to a sudden halt to the proceedings, which are now set to start again July 27th. Now from iTeam 8. Some Indianapolis neighbors are turning to a judge for help, claiming they've been terrorized by violence and loud parties. They say the parties happened at the home of a former Purdue basketball star. iTeam 8's Richard Essex breaks down the claims and what neighbors want to happen next.
A.J. Hammond's neighbors are not big fans of his parties. There is a temporary restraining order to keep the former Purdue basketball player from having any large gatherings. This morning, his neighbors were hoping the judge would make the temporary restraining order permanent, but the judge extended the order until the next hearing. When I tried to ask Hammonds a question, the former Purdue standout backhanded my microphone and refused to answer my questions. He wouldn't talk about the gunfire caught on a neighbor's surveillance camera. Hammonds is being sued by the Harrison Run Neighborhood Association and 4 homeowners. Over the past 4 years, he has been throwing parties which he charges people to attend. Nick Blesh Clark is one of the homeowners suing Hammonds. He says his home was hit by at least 5 bullets following a party at Hammond's house just 2 weeks ago.
I think it's well past time for that to be over. And, even if he's not, it's still well past time for this to be over. I shouldn't have to worry about my kids getting shot in their beds.
Blesh Clark told me that following another one of Hammond's parties, there was a gunfight in his driveway. A few rounds hit his mailbox. Shell casings littered the driveway, the street, and his neighbor's drive. The party started in the spring of 2019, slowed down a little bit in 2020, and have been roaring along ever since.
I'm still terrified. I'm still furious, and it's a mixture of both because I want to be back in my home and feel safe in it, and I don't right now yet.
The police have been called several times, and partygoers have been arrested running from the house. But the parties continue. Hammonds advertises the parties on social media. The last one, which was planned for Memorial Day weekend, was canceled after a judge issued a temporary restraining order. Indianapolis City County Council member Ethan Evans represents this area.
Need to get this stopped and put an end to the party at that moment. So thankfully, at this moment, nothing further has been, happening past that. Really unfortunate that it got to this point.
Hammonds had put the house up for sale for just over $1 million, but the house didn't sell. And according to court documents that iTeam 8 has found, Hammonds filed for bankruptcy in November of last year. In Indianapolis, Richard Essex, Wish TV, iTeam 8.
That 70s show star, Danny Masterson, could soon spend 30 years to life in prison for rape. A California jury found him guilty on 2 counts of rape at his second trial yesterday. The jury of 7 women and 5 men reached the verdict after deliberating for 7 days over 2 weeks. Masterson was a member of the Church of Scientology, which played a significant role in both trials, including testimony from a former member on church policy. Masterson is being held without bail until he's sentenced. At last check, a date for that hadn't been set. Adidas is again selling Yeezys. This week's release of the shoes marks the first time they've been on the market since the company cut ties with Ye, Kanye West. Adidas ended its deal with Ye last fall over a series of controversial moves from the star, including anti-Semitic remarks. The move left Adidas with $1.3 billion worth of unsold Yeezys. Adidas says it will donate some of the profits to social justice organizations, including the Anti-Defamation League. Al Pacino is about to be a dad again at 84 years old. His publicist confirmed Pacino and his girlfriend, Noor Alfallah, are expecting. Pacino has 3 grown children from past relationships. Pacino's longtime friend and fellow actor Robert De Niro is about to become a father for the 7th time at 79 years old. And today, the NBA Finals kick off in Denver. Marks the Nuggets' first finals appearance in franchise history. They're fighting the Miami Heat for the championship. The Heat haven't won in Denver since 2016, and the Nuggets are 8-0 at home in the postseason. Denver is a 9-point favorite in Game 1. Tip-off is tonight at 8:30. Purdue basketball star Zach Edey says he's skipping the NBA draft and returning to school for his senior year. The 7'4" center made the announcement on social media yesterday. Edey was named a unanimous All-American and the Big Ten Player of the Year earlier this year. He finished 6th nationally in scoring, 2nd in rebounding, and 1st in double-doubles last season. Construction on the Indy 11's new billion-dollar home is now underway. The development includes a state-of-the-art stadium in the heart of downtown. News 8's Angela Morian reports from the event that kicked it all off.
The ground is officially broken for a brand new billion-dollar new home for the Indy 11. 11 Park will bring a new stadium, restaurants, housing, and much more to the old Diamond Chain property right next door to Lucas Oil Stadium.
It's so much more than a dream come true for soccer fanatics and for citizens, whether they live on Lake Michigan or on the Ohio River, border to border for the state of Indiana.
It's just going to give the fans a great place to enjoy and interact with the team. And I think it's going to grow the game of soccer within Indianapolis, and it's going to continue to put Indy and Indiana on the map as a sports capital.
As an athlete, you always want to perform at the best venues, and in my opinion, in the USL, this is going to be the best stadium.
At 20,000 seats, 11 Park is set to be the second largest stadium for any team in the USL Championship League. In fact, it'll be bigger than 8 different MLS stadiums. However, this is much more than just about soccer.
This really does check every box in terms of live, work, play, study, stay. It's an amenity that every capital city, every city strives for, is to have that vibrant attraction, and this is one in a full house in terms of holding a strong hand.
The more venues that we can have to go out and pitch when we go out and look for events, that's really what makes us separate. And we'll be able to go after events that we haven't before. This is a perfect place for Final Four, college football playoff, for things like that, for people to come down and celebrate in the plaza before they go into Lucas Oil Stadium.
The developers plan to have the stadium built by summer of 2025.
I just can't wait to go from groundbreaking to ribbon cutting to first goal. It's a win-win-win across the board.
With the hopes of many more Indy 11 wins inside. Angela Morian, Wish TV, WishTV.com, and like us on Facebook.
And finally, to business headlines. U.S. job openings rose unexpectedly in April. Employers posted 10.1 million job openings last month, up from a revised 9.7 million in March and the most since January. The resilience of the American labor market and complicating Federal Reserve efforts to fight inflation as a tight labor market means companies have to pay more. Salesforce raised its financial forecast, but sees pressure as customers back away from big consulting deals. It says clients are still looking carefully at deals, which are taking longer to close than they were in the past. A Cummins spinoff has gone public at the New York Stock Exchange with a value of $1.6 billion. The filtration company will use the $300 million gain from the selling of shares to pay off debt. Stocks overnight were flat. Absolutely no reaction at all to the debt ceiling vote. The House passed a sweeping bill that suspends the federal government's debt ceiling in exchange for spending cuts. I talked about that more in depth earlier in the podcast. It means the government can pay its bills on time, which is good news for those people who receive money from the federal government, like Social Security checks or veterans benefits. And weddings are back in full force. That's good news. But engaged couples will pay more now to get hitched in 2023. The average cost of a wedding nationally this year is $29,000, up $1,000 from 2022. That's according to online wedding planning site Zola. In some big U.S. cities, the cost is $35,000 and above. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway, online at wishtv.com, and like us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update on demand. For even more, on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.